The Quartermain family faces an unimaginable tragedy in Port Charles as beloved patriarch Ned Quartermain breathes his last, leaving his loved ones shattered and searching for answers. What started as a heated confrontation between Ned and his cousin Drew Kane spiraled into a heartbreaking sequence of events that would forever alter the fabric of the most iconic family in General Hospital's rich history. Outside Bobby's restaurant, Ned's world came crashing down, not just his health, but his very life, all while those closest to him remained painfully unaware of the darkness that had transpired. The argument that changed everything. The tensions between Ned and Drew had been simmering for weeks, but on this fateful day, they erupted into a full-blown confrontation outside Bobby's restaurant. Drew had done the unthinkable. He had stolen Tracy's precious boxes of family heirlooms, treasured Quartermain possessions that held generations of memories. When Ned discovered what Drew had done, his fury knew no bounds. This wasn't just about property. This was a betrayal of family trust and respect. How could you? Ned's voice trembled with both anger and hurt as he confronted Drew. Those heirlooms are irreplaceable. They belong to this family, not to you. Drew, unmoved by Ned's passionate defense of his family's legacy, responded with characteristic callousness. The argument escalated quickly, with Ned's voice growing louder, his gestures more animated. What Ned didn't know was that his body couldn't handle the stress and emotional turmoil of this confrontation. The combination of betrayal, anger, and family dishonor was too much for his heart to bear. The heart attack and Drew's inexplicable cruelty. As the argument reached its peak, Ned suddenly clutched his chest. His face went pale, and beads of sweat formed on his brow. I can't breathe," he gasped, his body beginning to falter. This was no act, no manipulation. Ned Quartermain was having a heart attack right there on the street outside Bobby's restaurant. What happened next would become the most infuriating moment in recent Port Charles history. Drew, witnessing Ned collapse to the ground, made a decision that would haunt him forever. Instead of calling for help, instead of showing even a shred of compassion, Drew laughed. He actually laughed at his cousin's suffering, believing Ned was faking the entire thing. "You're not fooling me, Ned," Drew sneered before turning away and walking off, leaving his uncle to suffer alone on the cold pavement. Thankfully, Emma Drake Scorpio and Joe Palmieri happened to be nearby and discovered Ned's lifeless body struggling outside Bobby's. They immediately called for emergency medical assistance, and an ambulance rushed to the scene. Ned was transported to General Hospital, where doctors fought valiantly to save his life. He was rushed into emergency surgery, with his family holding their breath and praying for a miracle. A devastating loss. But miracles don't always come when we need them most. Despite the best efforts of Dr. Portia Robinson and her team of skilled physicians, Ned's condition deteriorated rapidly. His heart, already weakened from years of family stress and conflict, couldn't endure the trauma of the attack. Days later, in a moment filled with unbearable sorrow, Dr. Portia Robinson approached Ned's family with news that no one was prepared to hear. "I'm so sorry," Dr. Robinson said, her voice heavy with compassion. "We did everything we could, but Ned's heart was too severely damaged. He's gone. I'm deeply sorry for your loss." The words hung in the air like a death knell. Ned Quartermain, the beloved husband of Olivia, the devoted father of Brooklyn, and the patriarch of one of Port Charles's most prominent families, was dead. The shock rippled through the Quartermain mansion and across the entire town. Tracy's return and her terrible discovery. Adding to the family's anguish was the revelation that Tracy Quartermain, Ned's mother, had been on vacation when all of this unfolded. The family, foolishly believing they were protecting her, had kept the entire ordeal a secret. They thought if Ned recovered, there would be no need to ruin her well-deserved break. But he didn't recover. Now, they would have to tell her that her son was dead and that she missed the entire crisis because they kept her in the dark. When Tracy returned to Port Charles and learned what had transpired, her initial shock gave way to a fury unlike anything her family had ever witnessed. She couldn't believe they had hidden Ned's heart attack from her. But worse, far worse, was learning exactly what had led to that fatal attack, and who was responsible for leaving Ned to die on that street. The funeral and Tracy's chilling warning. The funeral services for Ned Quartermain were held on a gray, somber day in Port Charles. The entire town turned out to pay their respects to a man who had been a fixture in their lives for decades. The Quartermain family sat in the front pews, their faces etched with grief and disbelief. Olivia, Ned's devoted wife, could barely hold herself together, supported by Brooklyn, who wept openly for her father. It was during the reception after the funeral service, as people were offering their condolences, that Drew made the grave mistake of approaching Tracy. Perhaps he thought the funeral would soften her anger, or perhaps he was simply arrogant enough to believe his version of events would be believed. Whatever his reasoning, it was a fatal miscalculation. Tracy's eyes, already red from tears of grief and rage, locked onto Drew with an intensity that made everyone around them take a step back. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was quiet but trembling with barely restrained fury. "You left him there to die," Tracy hissed, her words sharp as daggers. "You thought he was faking, and instead of helping your own family member, you walked away laughing. You are responsible for my son's death, Drew Kane, and I promise you, I will make you pay for what you've done. Every single day of your life. I will make you regret the day you decided to betray this family." Tracy stepped closer, and Drew visibly shrank back. "You think you can just walk around Port Charles as if you belong to this family? As if you have any right to even speak our name? You are finished, Drew. I'm going to destroy you the way you destroyed my family. Mark my words." The aftermath and questions left behind. In the days following Ned's death, Port Charles was left reeling from the tragedy and the shocking revelation of Drew's role in it. The entire Quartermain family was shattered. Olivia struggled with the loss of her beloved husband. Brooklyn couldn't comprehend that her father was truly gone. And Tracy was a force of nature fueled by grief and vengeance. The story of what happened outside Bobby's restaurant spread through Port Charles like wildfire. Everyone wanted to know, had Drew deliberately left Ned to die, or had he truly believed his cousin was faking? The townspeople debated it endlessly in bars and coffee shops. But one thing was certain, whether intentional or not: Drew's actions had consequences that no one could have anticipated. Ned Quartermain's death would forever change Port Charles. It had robbed the town of a pillar of its community, torn apart a beloved family, and set in motion events that would test the very fabric of relationships across the city. And Tracy Quartermain's vow for vengeance promised that this story was far from over. In Port Charles, when you betray the Quartermains, you don't just face legal consequences, you face the wrath of a family that will stop at nothing to see justice served, no matter how long it takes. Next, we will learn about the explosive drama that's about to unfold when Tracy Quartermain returns from her luxurious spa getaway and discovers the chaos that has erupted in Port Charles during her absence. The matriarch of the Quartermain family has been blissfully unaware, indulging in massages, facials, and peaceful meditation sessions at an exclusive wellness retreat. But her tranquil vacation is about to come to a crashing halt when she learns about the series of catastrophic events that have transpired back home. Ned's medical crisis rocks the family. The most devastating news awaiting Tracy's return involves her beloved son, Ned Quartermain, who suffered a serious heart attack while she was away enjoying her spa treatments. This medical emergency has sent shockwaves through the entire Quartermain household, and Tracy is bound to be absolutely furious when she discovers that two of the people closest to Ned kept this life-threatening situation hidden from her. Brooklyn Quartermain and Olivia Quartermain made the controversial decision not to contact Tracy immediately about Ned's condition, likely believing they were protecting her vacation or perhaps wanting to avoid her intense personality during an already stressful situation. However, anyone who knows Tracy understands that she would have wanted to be informed immediately, regardless of where she was or what she was doing. Her maternal instincts are fierce, and the fact that she wasn't given the opportunity to be by her son's side during such a critical moment will cut her deeply and fuel her legendary temper. The heart attack itself was severe enough to require immediate medical intervention, and the fact that Ned's life hung in the balance while Tracy was obliviously enjoying cucumber water and aromatherapy sessions will haunt her. She'll likely question every decision made in her absence, demanding to know every medical detail, every treatment option that was considered, and why the hospital staff didn't reach out to her directly. Brooklyn and Olivia should prepare themselves for an onslaught of accusations, guilt trips, and scathing commentary about their judgment and loyalty to the family. Tracy has never been one to hold back her opinions, and this situation will bring out her most protective and confrontational side. Drew Kane's betrayal ignites old rivalries. If Tracy's anger toward Brooklyn and Olivia burns hot, her fury toward Drew Kane will be absolutely volcanic. The revelation that Drew left Ned for dead after finding him in medical distress will reopen old wounds and reignite one of Port Charles' most bitter rivalries. The context makes it even more damning. Tracy had previously called 911 when she discovered Drew lying in a pool of his own blood after being shot, essentially saving his life when he needed her most. She put aside any personal feelings and did the right thing, ensuring that Drew received immediate medical attention despite their contentious history. The fact that Drew couldn't extend the same basic human decency to her son when he desperately needed help will be viewed by Tracy as the ultimate betrayal and proof of his moral bankruptcy. Tracy will undoubtedly throw Drew's hypocrisy in his face at every opportunity, reminding him and everyone else in Port Charles that she acted with honor and compassion when he was the one fighting for his life. She'll paint him as a selfish, ungrateful coward who lacks even the most basic sense of reciprocity and human decency. Their already ugly rivalry will escalate to new heights, with Tracy potentially using all of her considerable resources, connections, and influence to make Drew's life as difficult as possible. She might launch investigations into his business dealings, spread damaging information through her social networks, or find ways to interfere with his personal relationships. Drew should brace himself for a prolonged campaign of retribution from a woman who never forgets a slight and always settles her scores. Martin Gray's legal maneuvers come back to haunt him. The attorney Martin Gray has another storm heading his way, and he may not even see it coming until Tracy is standing in his office, unleashing her wrath. Martin made the fateful decision to hire Monica Quartermain's sister, Veronica Ronnie Quartermain, whose arrival in Port Charles triggered a cascade of complications involving the family will and estate matters. This entire debacle caused tremendous stress for Tracy, who was already dealing with the complex dynamics of the Quartermain family and their considerable assets. The legal battles, family tensions, and emotional turmoil that resulted from Ronnie's involvement were significant, and Tracy holds Martin directly responsible for creating this mess. Martin likely believed he was making a clever legal move, or perhaps thought his actions were justified by some technical interpretation of family law. But he clearly underestimated Tracy's memory and capacity for grudges. She's the type of person who maintains a mental ledger of everyone who has wronged her or caused her unnecessary aggravation, and Martin's name is now prominently featured on that list. The attorney should watch his back because Tracy has connections throughout Port Charles' legal and business communities, and she won't hesitate to use them to make his professional life complicated. She might steer clients away from his practice, challenge his legal strategies in court, or find other creative ways to remind him that crossing a Quartermain has consequences that extend far beyond the initial transgression. Dante faces Tracy's protective wrath. Dante Falconeri might be surprised to find himself on Tracy's target list, but his treatment of Joe Palmieri has not gone unnoticed by the Quartermain matriarch. Giovanni Joe Palmieri has rapidly become one of Tracy's favorite people, someone she genuinely admired and respected even before discovering his true connection to the family. When the shocking revelation came that Joe is actually Brooklyn's son and therefore Tracy's great-grandson, her affection for him only intensified. She sees in Joe the best qualities of the Quartermain legacy: integrity, courage, talent, and a strong moral compass. He represents hope for the family's future and a connection to the next generation that Tracy values immensely. The fact that Joe heroically saved Ned's life during his heart attack will elevate him even further in Tracy's estimation, potentially to near sainthood status in her eyes. This young man demonstrated bravery, quick thinking, and devotion to family when it mattered most, and Tracy will be eternally grateful to him for protecting her son. Therefore, when she learns about how Dante has treated Joe in the aftermath of Rocco Falcone's arrest, she will be absolutely livid. The details of Dante's behavior, whether it involved unfair suspicion, harsh words, or a failure to support Joe during a difficult time, will be viewed by Tracy as an attack on her great-grandson and, by extension, on the entire Quartermain family. Tracy will likely confront Dante directly, demanding explanations for his actions and making it crystal clear that Joe is under her protection now. She might even threaten to use her influence with the police commissioner or other authorities if she believes Dante has overstepped his bounds. Dante, who typically commands respect in Port Charles due to his position and family connections, will find himself dealing with a formidable adversary who doesn't care about his badge or his Falconeri name. In Tracy's eyes, nobody mistreats her family without facing consequences, and Danny's relationship with Brooklyn won't shield him from her protective fury on behalf of Joe, Gio's rising star in the Quartermain dynasty. If everyone else should brace for Tracy's wrath, Joe Palmieri can rest easy knowing he's probably the only person who will receive nothing but praise, support, and affection from the returning matriarch. Tracy will likely place him on an even higher pedestal than before, celebrating his heroism in saving Ned and working to establish a genuine, deep grandparent-grandson relationship with him. She may shower him with opportunities, whether in business, education, or personal development, wanting to ensure that this impressive young man has every advantage and resource the Quartermain name can provide. Tracy might also take it upon herself to formally introduce Joe to Port Charles society, making sure everyone knows that he's a cherished member of the family with her full backing and support. This could include involving him in Quartermain business matters, inviting him to exclusive events, or simply spending quality time getting to know him better. For Joe, having Tracy as a champion could open doors and create opportunities he never imagined, though it may also come with the pressure and expectations that accompany being a Quartermain favorite. The question remains whether these two will successfully forge the authentic multi-generational bond that Tracy clearly desires, or whether complications and family drama will interfere with their budding relationship. Tracy Quartermain's return to Port Charles promises to be nothing short of explosive, with multiple confrontations, dramatic revelations, and emotional reckonings on the horizon. Her absence may have been relaxing, but her comeback will be anything but peaceful for those who have earned her displeasure. Port Charles should prepare for the storm that's about to hit when this formidable matriarch storms back into town, armed with information about everything that happened while she was away and ready to hold everyone accountable for their actions and decisions during her absence. Next, we will learn about the shocking developments surrounding the explosive confrontation between Carly and Jack Brennan that has left Port Charles buzzing with anticipation and speculation. The drama has taken an unexpected twist that nobody saw coming, and fans are absolutely riveting with excitement over what could happen next in this high-stakes game of deception and betrayal. The anticipated explosion that never came. General Hospital viewers had been bracing themselves for what they assumed would be an earth-shattering showdown between Carly and Brennan after the devastating truth finally came to light about Jocelyn Jack's controversial new position with the World Security Bureau. The revelation that Brennan had orchestrated significant behind-the-scenes maneuvering to secure Joss's placement sent shockwaves through the Spencer family, and everyone in Port Charles expected Carly to unleash her infamous fury on the WSB director without holding anything back. After all, When it comes to protecting her children, Carly has never been one to pull punches or show any restraint whatsoever. However, what actually transpired has left both fans and cast members equally stunned by the creative direction the writers have chosen to explore. Instead of the predicted fireworks and heated accusations, the storyline has pivoted in a completely different and far more dangerous direction that could have devastating consequences for everyone involved. The fallout from this decision promises to be even more explosive than any confrontation could have been. Chris McKenna opens up about the shocking plot twist. In a fascinating and revealing interview with Soap Opera Digest, actor Chris McKenna, who brilliantly portrays the enigmatic and calculating Jack Brennan, shared his genuine surprise and intrigue regarding how the writers crafted this unexpected narrative development. McKenna candidly confessed that he had been mentally preparing himself for what he described as a big blow-up scene, anticipating the kind of intense, emotionally charged confrontation that General Hospital fans have come to expect from dramatic storylines of this magnitude. The veteran actor had been ready to film what he thought would be explosive scenes filled with anger, tears, and devastating accusations flying back and forth. What McKenna discovered instead was a plot twist so unexpected and morally complex that it completely changed his understanding of where his character's storyline was heading. Rather than witnessing Carly directly confronting Brennan with righteous anger and demanding answers for his manipulative behavior, viewers are now watching something far more sinister and dangerous unfold before their eyes. Carly has chosen a path of calculated revenge that involves forging an unlikely and potentially treasonous alliance with the notorious Valentin Casadini, a man whose reputation for ruthlessness and international intrigue precedes him throughout Port Charles and beyond. The moral complexity of Carly's dangerous alliance. McKenna didn't hold back in expressing his fascination with the moral ambiguity that this storyline presents to viewers and the characters themselves. He acknowledged to Soap Opera Digest that from an objective standpoint, Carly was completely in the right to feel betrayed and furious about Brennan's secretive machinations regarding her daughter's career trajectory and safety. Any mother would be justified in feeling violated and deceived when discovering that her daughter's professional opportunities had been manipulated without her knowledge or consent, especially when those opportunities involve dangerous international espionage work. However, the actor pointed out the stunning irony and dramatic reversal that makes this storyline so compelling and thought-provoking for longtime fans. Through her partnership with Valentin Casadini, a man with questionable loyalties and dangerous international connections, McKenna notes that Carly is now committing treason against her own country. The gravity of this choice cannot be overstated, as Carly has essentially crossed a line from justifiable anger into actions that could be considered crimes against national security. While Brennan may have lied and manipulated circumstances to benefit his own agenda, his actions pale in comparison to what Carly is now contemplating. McKenna elaborated on this fascinating moral dilemma by explaining, he lied, but she's committing acts against the nation. This observation cuts to the heart of what makes this storyline so dramatically rich and complex. Brennan can now legitimately argue from a position of moral superiority, despite being the original transgressor who set these events in motion, as McKenna puts it. So I think that now, Jack at least has an argument from this angle, which is, I did something bad, but not treason. Uncharted territory for Port Charles. The actor continued by expressing his genuine excitement about the unexpected depth and complexity that this storyline has taken on, far exceeding his initial expectations when he first learned about the Carly-Brennan conflict. Carly is certainly swimming in deep waters now, which I think is really fascinating and cool, McKenna shared with obvious enthusiasm. The metaphor of Carly swimming in deep waters perfectly captures the precarious position she has placed herself in by choosing revenge over confrontation, strategy over emotion. McKenna admitted with refreshing honesty that he doesn't know where the writers plan to take this increasingly complicated narrative, but he's thoroughly invested in discovering how it all unfolds. I don't know where it's going, but I think it's really interesting, and it's a lot deeper and more complex than I was expecting," the actor revealed. This kind of unpredictability and moral ambiguity is exactly what keeps General Hospital fans coming back for more, eager to see how their favorite characters navigate impossible situations with life-altering consequences. Brennan's suspicious nature and quiet observations. One of the most intriguing questions facing viewers now is whether Carly can successfully deceive someone as experienced and perceptive as Jack Brennan, a man who has spent his entire career reading people and detecting deception. Can she maintain her composure and continue her dangerous game of espionage against the very head of the World Security Bureau? McKenna offered fascinating insights into his character's mindset and observational skills that suggest Brennan may be far more aware than Carly realizes. The actor explained that Brennan is someone who plays things close to the vest, meaning he rarely reveals his true thoughts or suspicions until he's absolutely certain of the facts. This characteristic makes Brennan particularly dangerous as an adversary, because he may be gathering evidence and building his case against Carly even while appearing completely oblivious to her schemes. McKenna teased that fans might be shocked and surprised to discover just how much Brennan is actually picking up on, even if he's deliberately pretending to see nothing amiss in Carly's behavior. The quiet moments that reveal everything. In upcoming episodes that promise to ratchet up the tension even further, McKenna revealed that viewers will witness Brennan experiencing some crucial quiet moments when he's alone and can drop his professional facade. These private scenes will show the WSB director grappling with the nagging feeling that something doesn't feel quite right in his relationship with Carly, even if he's careful not to tip his hand or reveal his suspicions to her directly. These moments of introspection and doubt will give fans a glimpse into Brennan's strategic thinking and his growing awareness that he may be the target of a counterintelligence operation. The prospect of watching these two intelligent, resourceful characters engage in this high-stakes game of cat and mouse has General Hospital fans absolutely riveted with anticipation. Will Brennan's professional instincts ultimately expose Carly's partnership with Valentine before she can execute whatever plan they've devised? Or will Carly manage to pull off the impossible by successfully duping the head of the World Security Bureau, a man whose entire career has been built on detecting exactly this kind of deception? What lies ahead? The Carly Brennan situation has evolved into one of the most morally complex and dramatically rich storylines that General Hospital has offered viewers in recent memory. The traditional roles of victim and perpetrator have become thoroughly blurred, with both characters making choices that are simultaneously understandable and potentially devastating. Carly's transformation from wrong mother to potential traitor represents a fascinating character journey that tests the limits of how far someone will go for revenge. Meanwhile, Brennan finds himself in the unusual position of being both the original deceiver and potentially the victim of an even greater deception. The irony of this reversal isn't lost on fans who are eagerly discussing every nuance and possibility on social media platforms dedicated to General Hospital speculation. The question of whether Carly can maintain her deception against someone as skilled and suspicious as Brennan remains the central tension driving this storyline forward into increasingly dangerous territory. As this explosive situation continues to develop and unfold in Port Charles, one thing remains absolutely certain: neither Carly nor Brennan will emerge from this conflict unchanged, and the consequences of their choices will reverberate throughout Port Charles for months to come, affecting not only their relationship, but potentially the safety and security of everyone they care about.